fuck what anybody else thinks about it. How's it going, G freaks and sci-fi fanatics? This is Daniel, always coming at you raw and real. Hope everyone's day is going smoothly. Now in this video, I'm going to be discussing and reviewing a film that I hadn't seen in about 4 or 5 years. It's a Toho classic, came out in 1958, and it brings back all of the all-stars. Akira Fukube doing the score, Ishiro Honda directing the film, Eiji Tsuburaya with his legendary special effects, and last but not least, Haruo Nakajima-san, who stars as Varan The Unbelievable. So, getting straight to the actual film, I actually enjoyed it a lot, even though I hadn't seen it in a long time, and I had to do some research even before I wanted to do this review and discussion video. I did the best research I could, and I'm still really green when it comes to doing movie reviews, and I'm trying to learn as I go. And just starting off, the score was unbelievable and it was unique, yet it did implement themes from Godzilla and Rodan, but in the end, the sound and the score was unique in itself, and I really enjoyed that. So moving on with the actual plot of the film, I'm going to keep it as short as I can, and I don't make my videos long. But specifically, it starts off as 2 scholars are sent to the Japanese Tibet area, which is, they weren't really specific on where the actual location is of this village, but it's located close to what's called the Kitakami River, and they're in search of a specifically rare native butterfly species. They end up heading and going towards this village that's close to that river, and they run into the local elder priest and a few of the villagers, and they actually think that species of butterfly is around that area, and their questions fall on deaf ears. The elder priest just gives them a crazy look, and the villagers, I guess, just walk away. So they're left on their own to find out where the actual location is. So they go deeper into the woods of the forest, and they do actually end up going close to where the river is at, and they do find a species of butterfly that they're looking for. And then that's where things get more interesting, as with the plot, these villagers that have been there for so long, they're very superstitious, and they worship or pray to this mountain god, in other words, called Baradagi Sanjin. Yeah, I'm sorry, I tried to pronounce it the best I could. So they're doing their research, and out of the blue, Varan comes out of nowhere. They don't show him specifically in the beginning of the movie, and he just basically crushes them, or crushes their jeep where they're at. They both end up dead. So word goes back to, I guess, the institution or the college where they were at, and one of the scholars happened to be the brother of a reporter. So she wants to go back with a couple of other people and scholars and her photographer to go get some more information based on what happened, because of course they brought up Baradagi and the whole superstition thing about how they died and why they were crushed by some kind of massive creature. So the photographer, the sister who's a reporter, and another scholar end up going back to this village, Kitakami village, and they don't believe the superstition. They think it's bullshit. They just want to really get down to what happened to those 2 scholars. And the village elder, of course, ends up telling them they angered Baradagi. They weren't supposed to be there. They felt his wrath, and he killed them. Plain and simple. And I gotta say that The fucking priest, man, was hilarious, man. I mean, towards that movie, if you all have seen it, that dude was wacky. I mean, I don't know if it was intended for comic relief, but for me, that was fucking hilarious, man. Waving that freaking whatever it was, that branch or whatever, was I was laughing my ass off. But heading more into the story, the three actually see, after some more investigating and a boy looking for his dog by the river in the forest, Varan makes his appearance coming out of the river. And Varan is very unique. Of course, all the monsters from Toho are unique, but to me, Varan is very unique. And I actually really liked his design. Definitely more of an iguana. There's even a specific species that has the name Varan connected to it. I think it's a certain monitor lizard. He freaks everybody out. He ends up destroying the village, those huts. I mean, makes it look like easy. Destroys everything. And he has his fill of destruction and decides to go back into his domain in the river. Now, those three people who actually went back to do the investigating believe the superstition, of course, but it's not Baratagi, the mountain god, but it's just a monster. So they make their plans to have military forces go to this river. They want to destroy Varan as fast as they can. They use poisonous death charges. They put him in the water. They use different kinds of ways to try to kill Varan. They lure him out. The tanks, all the equipment, artillery, everything's there. No effect on Varan, which is, of course, very basic in any Toho film. He's actually more curious about all these tanks and this artillery and these weapons, and he seems to be attracted to flashing objects. And he actually climbs over one of the mountains and displays his flying squirrel type membranes that are in between his arms and his legs, and he can glide, which was really cool. He ends up gliding a long distance and ends up going into the sea and the water. And there, of course, they didn't do a damn thing when they were by the river. So military ends up gathering their forces and they try to make an assault on Varan. Depth charges, ships, destroyers, no effect. The main thing they want to do is keep him from Tokyo, or to make landfall in Tokyo. The last thing they want, and that's what anybody wants in any Toho monster related film. So Varan is pretty much indestructible. He's just like Godzilla. There's no known weapon that they can come up with that can destroy him. And so he actually ends up making landfall at one of the bays of Tokyo Bay. And he's there, doesn't get very far, but he destroys a few buildings. And like I said in the beginning, he has this kind of attraction to bright objects. So of course it takes a professor to actually come up with a plan to destroy Varan. So they use the method of seeing how Varan ends up eating the flares. He ends up swallowing them. So they come up with a plan to throw out some more flares, yet they fill them with explosives, massive explosives. I don't know if it was TNT or dynamite or whatever it was. The plan actually works. Varan gets badly injured when he swallows one and explodes, and he ends up going towards the water, goes beneath the water, and there's another big explosion. And of course it says that he died, or they said, he was killed, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's with that kind of movie, I think he learned from that, and then he regurgitated the second, and then it exploded inside of the water, and then I think he just made his getaway. He bolted. That's just my opinion, though. But I mean, it's a fun film. And unfortunately, when I looked at the special features and extras, I looked up online that Nakajima-san actually got injured. He got burned when supposedly some explosives, of course not too dangerous, but I guess they ended up exploding too close to where his stomach was, and I guess the padding on that suit, the Varan suit, wasn't very thick, not like a Godzilla suit or a Rodan suit, but it was really, and you can tell in the movie the thickness of the actual suit was very, very thin. But he ended up getting burned like really bad, so I think towards the end of production they had to use a separate stand-in actor to finish the rest of the film. But luckily he recovered and everything. Besides that, I enjoyed the film. It was really cool. Varan isn't really, he only made about 2 appearances in the Toho franchise. And Varan was actually brought up a few times for other movies that he was gonna take part in, but those ideas always fell through, and they always end up using more popular kaiju, of course, Ghidorah, Rodan, Mothra, Baragon. And I think Varan is a very good looking design and very unique. And as far as the film goes, the film was really good. It was a little long. I was surprised by that too when I was doing my research watching the film. But there you go, G Freaks and Sci-Fi Fanatics. There is my review for 1958's Toho film Varan The Unbelievable. And of course, if other people have seen this film, leave your thoughts. Tell me what you guys thought of the film. I would like to thank you guys for watching. This is Daniel, always coming at you raw and real. Hope you all have a great day. So, I'm out.